Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Samira Hansen.
And I'm Ferris Underwood, and welcome to our deep dive today. It's
It's a bit of a personal one, actually.
yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize
How we got started.
how we even got started on this whole journey in the first place.
Yeah, with Your Choice Health Inc.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it all kind of goes back to my uncle.
Oh yeah.
He struggled with diabetes for a really long time
Wow.
and unfortunately ended up passing away from complications.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was
Must have been really hard.
it was a really tough time for our family, but
Yeah.
it really opened my eyes to just how important
Yeah.
taking care of your health really is.
Absolutely, it's so crucial.
It's everything.
Yeah, and for me, it was my mom.
Oh, wow.
She battled cancer for a long time,
Oh, gosh.
and it was tough to watch her go through that.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it made me realize, that we really need to be proactive about our health.
Yeah, we can't just wait till something's wrong.
Exactly. We have to take charge.
We have to be in the driver's seat.
Exactly. And that's actually how we both ended up discovering Your Choice Health Inc.
It's true.
We were both kind of on this path of wanting to learn more
Yeah.
about health and wellness.
Yeah, take more control.
And their philosophy really resonated with us.
I think for both of us, we were really drawn to that idea that
Yeah,
your health is your greatest wealth.
absolutely.
It's so true.
That's their core message.
Yeah.
And this deep dive is going to explore a real-life experiment.
Okay.
2 men swapped diets for 30 days.
Wow.
One went fully vegan and the other went high meat with blood tests before and after to track the changes.
Interesting. So they're really kind of going to the extremes here.
Yeah, it's not a large-scale study by any means, but the results are still pretty interesting.
Well, I'm very curious to hear what happens when you go from one extreme to the other.
Let's jump into it.
Okay.
First up is cholesterol. The man who switched to the high meat diet saw his total cholesterol explode,
Oh, wow.
while the vegan man's plummeted from 222 to 149
That's a huge drop.
in just 30 days.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
And this dramatic drop aligns with broader research trends. Plant-based diets are consistently linked to lower cholesterol levels.
Makes sense. You're taking away a lot of the cholesterol that you would be consuming through animal products.
Yeah, and his LDL cholesterol, the bad kind, more than doubled.
Ooh.
That's kind of scary considering it's linked to heart disease.
Yeah, it is a significant jump. And while the video we're referencing does mention this claim that high LDL might actually be linked to longevity, in some cases it's statistically misleading.
Yeah, they use a striking analogy. It's running through a field of arrows
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
to explain why that's not exactly a sound argument.
Right. Just because a few people might make it through a field of arrows unscathed doesn't mean it's a safe bet for everyone.
Yeah, like the same logic kind of applies here. Right?
Exactly. A tiny percentage of people with high LDL might live long lives, but that doesn't negate the overall trend that high LDL significantly increases the risk of heart disease.
So ignoring the overall trend and focusing on outliers is kind of like playing Russian roulette with your health.
Yeah, pretty much. And in fact, studies on centenarians, particularly in regions like Japan and Portugal, actually found they had lower LDL cholesterol than younger, healthy individuals.
So maybe the secret to a long life is not dodging arrows, but avoiding them altogether.
I like that. That's a good one.
Okay. What about HDL, the good cholesterol?
Mm-hmm.
Did that change much?
Not really. And I think it's really crucial to emphasize that fixating solely on HDL can be very misleading. It doesn't really tell the whole story about heart health.
Right. So even if HDL doesn't change dramatically, there could still be positive shifts happening.
Exactly. We need to consider the whole picture. LDL triglycerides, inflammation markers, it's all interconnected.
Okay. So speaking of which, the vegan man's triglycerides dropped significantly, and his C-reactive protein, a marker of inflammation, also went way down.
That's really significant because lowering inflammation to that degree can have a huge impact on your overall health and even mortality risk.
How significant are we talking here?
Studies indicate that reducing inflammation to the levels this man achieved could effectively cut his mortality risk in half.
Wow. That's a game changer. It really underscores the power of our dietary choices. Now on to a slightly more technical topic, IGF-1. Can you explain what that is?
IGF-1 stands for insulin-like growth factor 1, and it's linked to cancer growth. Animal protein, whether from meat or dairy, raises IGF-1 levels. So in this experiment, we see the high meat diet led to an increase in IGF-1, while the vegan diet led to a decrease.
Right. And lower IGF-1 levels are associated with a lower risk of developing cancer.
Exactly. Studies show that vegans who typically have lower IGF-1 levels tend to have a reduced risk of developing cancer.
So this dietary swap had implications beyond just cholesterol and heart health. It even touched on cancer risk, which is a pretty big deal.
Absolutely. And again, it just points to the fact that our food choices have very far-reaching consequences.
Now let's address the elephant in the room, nutrient deficiencies. It's a common concern people have when they think about vegan diets.
Yeah, for sure, especially B12.
Right.
While the vegan man's B12 levels did drop, they remained within a healthy range. It's a misconception that all vegans are B12 deficient. In fact, a recent study in Switzerland found that Swiss vegans weren't significantly more likely to be B12 deficient compared to meat eaters.
Interesting. That is reassuring. What about folate?
His folate levels actually doubled.
Wow.
This just demonstrates how abundant folate is in plant-based foods.
Okay, so no major nutrient deficiencies from the vegan diet in this case. What about other hormones and markers? Anything noteworthy there?
Things like cortisol and testosterone levels remained within normal ranges for both men, so no clear advantage for either diet there.
All right, so no hormonal superpowers for either side.
Yeah.
But there was one result that really jumped out at me, kidney function. The high meat diet led to a BUN level outside the normal range, which suggests potential kidney stress.
That's a crucial point. And it really begs the question, what are the long-term implications of these high-protein diets, especially those heavy on animal protein, on kidney health?
Yeah, it is a crucial question to consider, especially with these high-protein diets becoming so popular.
You know, it's funny because so much of the messaging around protein is all about building muscle-boosting metabolism. It's all very positive.
Right, exactly. And while protein is undoubtedly essential, there's this growing body of research suggesting that excessive protein, particularly from animal sources, can put a lot of strain on our kidneys.
So it's not just about the amount of protein, but also the source.
Exactly. Plant-based proteins tend to be gentler on our kidneys compared to animal proteins.
That makes sense. You know, our bodies are probably better equipped to handle the types of protein that have formed the foundation of our diet for centuries, which is largely plant-based.
Exactly. We evolved to thrive on a variety of foods, but plants have always been a cornerstone of a healthy diet. And this deep dive really underscores that point. Even though it's just two individuals, this case study offers some compelling evidence for the health benefits of a plant-based diet.
Right.
Lower cholesterol, reduced inflammation, potential cancer risk reduction. It's pretty impressive.
It is, and it really speaks to the core message of Your Choice Health, Inc., empowering individuals to make informed choices about their health.
Yeah.
It's just this powerful reminder that the decisions we make about what we eat can have a profound impact on our well-being.
And the impact goes beyond personal health, too, right? There's a ripple effect on the environment and animal welfare as well.
Absolutely. Our food choices have consequences that extend far beyond ourselves. By choosing a plant-based lifestyle, we're not only potentially improving our own health, but also contributing to a more sustainable and compassionate world.
It brings us back to why this topic is so personal for both of us. We've both seen firsthand the devastating effects of these chronic diseases like cancer and diabetes in our own families.
It's personal for so many people. Chronic diseases are on the rise, and lifestyle factors, especially diet, plays such a significant role.
So what can we do about it? What's the takeaway message we want listeners to really understand from this deep dive?
I think the biggest takeaway is that even small changes to our diet can have a big impact. If a 30-day shift can lead to these kinds of results, imagine the potential long-term benefits of embracing a more plant-based lifestyle.
It's wild to think if this is the impact after just 30 days, what could be achieved over years or even decades?
Exactly. We have the power to take control of our health, and our diet is one of the most powerful tools we have.
And it's not about being perfect, right? It's about progress, not perfection.
I completely agree. Every step we take toward a healthier, more sustainable way of eating is a step in the right direction.
Well, this has been a really eye-opening conversation. I hope our listeners feel empowered to explore further, do their own research, and make choices that really align with their own unique health goals.
Me too. Knowledge is power. The more we understand about how our food choices affect us both personally and the world around us, the better equipped we'll be to make informed decisions.
It's not about dictating anyone's diet. It's about providing information and encouraging critical thinking. We're all on our own individual health journeys, and it's about finding what works best for each of us.
Absolutely well said. It's about empowering ourselves to make choices that support our well-being and the well-being of the planet.
And that's what Your Choice Health Inc. is all about.
Want to take your healing journey deeper? Join our holistic healing community on School for exclusive content, Q&As, and more. And don't just stop there. If the more personal touch is what you need, receive step-by-step guidance on your route to results when you join us in the Reset Room by clicking the links in the show notes. Let's start your transformation today. Now, let's get back to the deep dive.
There's one more piece of this deep dive that we need to unpack.
Yeah.
You mentioned there's one more piece to unpack. What did you have in mind?
Well, this whole conversation connects to something much bigger than just our individual health choices.
What do you mean?
Well, if we kind of zoom out and look at the big picture, our food choices, they create this ripple effect. They impact not only our own bodies, but the environment, animal welfare, even global resource allocation.
That's true. We tend to focus on the personal health benefits of, say, a plant-based diet, but it's easy to forget about those wider implications.
Yeah, it's all interconnected the way we produce and consume food. It has a massive impact on the planet. Animal agriculture in particular is a huge contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, deforestation, and water pollution.
So by choosing a more plant-based diet, we're not just potentially improving our own health, but also making a more sustainable choice for the planet.
Exactly. It's a win-win. And for many, the ethical considerations around animal agriculture make exploring plant-based options even more appealing.
That's a good point. And I think, everyone has their own motivations for exploring different ways of eating. And I think it's so important to respect those individual choices.
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. It's about finding what aligns best with your own needs, your health goals, your values, your lifestyle.
And that's where organizations like Your Choice Health Inc. are so valuable. They provide evidence-based information, practical tips, and support to help people navigate those choices.
Yeah, they're doing amazing work, empowering people to really take control of their health and well-being.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about. If these two men saw such significant changes in just 30 days, it really makes you wonder what's possible long term.
It is remarkable, right? It just shows how powerful our bodies are, how they can heal and adapt when we create the right conditions.
So for our listeners out there who might be feeling inspired to maybe explore a plant-based diet or just make some healthier choices, what's one piece of advice we can leave them with?
I'd say start small. Be patient with yourself. Don't try to do everything at once. Small, consistent changes over time can lead to really big results.
Great advice, and remember, it's a journey, not a destination. There will be bumps along the way, but the key is to keep learning, keep experimenting, and keep making choices that support your well-being. Your insights are always so valuable to us and the community.
And just a quick reminder, we've put links to a lot of the resources we mentioned in the show notes.
Plus, info on other healing tools and resources that align with the Your Choice Health Inc. approach. Definitely check those out.
Please do.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everybody.